Hey everybody, welcome to Nerd Overload, the pop and geek culture show where, with enough duct tape and paper clips, we can make it happen.
And we are.
I'm Sam.
I'm Josh.
And we have a great show for you this week. Thank you all for tuning in. We have a bunch of news to go over, but first let's talk about some things we have been checking out.
Check it out!
All right, so yeah, let's talk about some things we've been doing this week. Josh, do you have anything that you've been really kind of digging into?
The new episode of Season 2 of Dandadan came out, so I was super excited.
That's the one with the ghosts and the aliens, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, the anime about a guy who is obsessed with aliens, and he meets a girl who knows about ghosts, and her grandmother's like a medium or something. Mm-hmm. And then he gets possessed by a ghost on a dare, and she gets kidnapped by aliens, and it's a whole thing.
Is the ultimate bad guy going to be like the ghost of an alien?
You know what? It could very well could be.
They start like meshing together?
Yeah, because in one of the episodes in Season 1, the Flatwoods creature shows up.
Oh, really?
He was sent by the aliens. Apparently, cryptids are aliens.
Nice. Okay.
In their universe.
All right. I dig it.
Yeah, but he has mysterious ghost powers, and then the ghost who cursed him, they trap it in a doll thing, and she, in the English voice, she's voiced by Rita Repulsa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Barbara Goodson?
Yeah.
Is the actress? Yeah.
Oh, I watched Sonic 3.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, because I found it online.
Yeah, you found it online? Good to know. How is it? I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it yet.
I would say it ranks right up there with Sonic 2.
Okay, so pretty good, not quite as good as the first.
It hits a lot of very similar story beats.
Oh, well, when you introduce an evil or a bad 3D animated Sonic-like character who then becomes a good 3D Sonic-like character, I mean, you can only do so much with it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it hits a lot of the same notes. Shadow gets released by somebody they don't know who it is, but maybe I shouldn't spoil it.
I imagine it's something to do with Robotnik or a Robotnik family member, because the trailers had Jim Carrey, elderly Jim Carrey, and current Jim Carrey.
Yes,
it had interacting.
It had Ivo and Gerald Robotnik.
Gerald Robotnik, yes. Did they do the whole thing with Maria?
She is mentioned a lot.
But Shadow had like a bond with Maria, and then Maria, something happened to her.
Yeah.
And that's why he goes bad or something like that?
In the movie, he crashes to Earth inside a meteor, and back like 40 years ago.
Sure.
And Gunn finds it and takes it and starts doing studies on him, and elderly Robotnik is working for them, and Maria's there in the base with them because she goes everywhere her
grandfather goes.
Yada. And then there's an accident, and she unfortunately passes, and and then they basically cryo freeze Shadow.
That is a lot of Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, it really just felt like Sonic. There's even a battle in space. It's Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, Sonic Adventure 2. Okay, well that's cool. How was Keanu Reeves as the Shadow?
He was pretty good. He was pretty good. But it was funny because he's like, he was completely no nonsense. Like he was
doing the John Wick.
Yeah,
situation.
he was the straightest of the straight men in this circus of characters.
Gotcha.
You got like Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, and they're all just kind of goofy, and then Shadow's just like really serious.
Well, Knuckles tries to be serious, but it's because he's stupid.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's meathead the whole time.
Yeah, Shadow is like smart and serious, almost like Deadpool 2, where everybody is kind of a goof, even the ones that want to be are trying to be serious, except for Cable, who feels like he is out of a completely different film.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a lot. It's pretty much that.
Okay, gotcha.
It's pretty much that.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
They're also kind of vague on like what Shadow's abilities are, because he was like teleporting all over the place. Mm-hmm. Like he's got like his hover shoes or whatever.
He has the
hover
shoes.
He's skating around.
Yeah.
But he was also doing like this almost Dragon Ball-esque instant transmission kind of thing where he's just zipping around.
Oh, interesting.
Just popping up.
I mean, they could explain it that is he is so fast that he looks like he is.
I mean, he
zipping
is
from one to the other.
supposed to be the perfect life form.
Oh, he's like the ultimate life form. Yeah.
like when they first meet him and and Sonic is trying to like talk him down or whatever, like, hey, you know, why do you look like me? And he's like, what do you mean? Why do I look like you? Why do you look like me? You know, kind of thing. Like they're almost doing the Spider-Man pointing thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But like when they show up and he's like, oh, you're a colorful bunch.
Oh, that's good.
And then Sonic's like, hey man, I really don't want to fight. And then Knuckles is like, I would very much like to fight.
I would like to fight. Sure, that sounds about right. Do they set it up for a fourth one?
Oh,
do you
yeah.
think? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to tell you how?
Yeah, tell me the...
So, the end credit scene. The end credit scene is Sonic's in the woods.
Okay.
He had just beaten everybody in a foot race because that was like how that's how they started the movie. That's how they ended the movie.
Of course he's going to beat everybody in a foot race. He's the fastest one alive.
Yeah, he's got to go fast.
Yeah, that is his...
He is the blue blur.
He can't not go fast.
Right. It's almost to his detriment.
Yeah.
But he gets jumped by Metal Sonic.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then a bunch of Metal Sonics show up.
All right.
And right as Sonic is getting ready to get his spines crushed
Don't tell me. Big the Cat and Froggy walk out of a Doctor Strange-esque portal and says, I'd like to go fishing.
I wish it was that. But no, you see a big hammer come down and crush one of them, and it's Amy Rose.
Of course it is.
It's Amy Rose. They got to introduce the love interest.
All right. Well, who would you cast as the voice of Amy Rose?
She doesn't talk either. She doesn't talk
because they haven't found a celebrity to voice her yet.
Well, I mean, they got the actual Tails voice actress to voice Tails.
That's because there's no one on Earth that can make Tails sound like Tails except for that actress.
That's true. That's true. So who are we going to stunt cast as Amy Rose?
If they're going with original voices, they could have just gotten Jaleel White. He's not doing anything.
That's true.
Yeah.
Ben Schwartz as Sonic has grown on me quite a bit. Mm-hmm. At one point, he calls Shadow Hot Topic, and it made me laugh so hard.
Oh, that's very funny. That's good. But no, what a voice act? Well, not even at this
an
point,
actress who could be Amy Rose.
Who could be Amy Rose? Who has done the comedy and can and someone like Ben Schwartz, who is one of the best improv people currently out there, it would be as much of a stunt casting as it would be an actual good casting.
I don't know.
And they'd have to have like could do a smaller, cuter voice.
Yeah, like I was gonna say Zendaya, but
I mean that would be the ultimate stunt cast.
Yeah, but I don't think she can do the voice.
No, see if
she's too, I don't know how to put this,
flat in her delivery in most things.
And just very sarcastic and everything she
sarcasm,
says.
Sure. My brain went to Kristen Shaw.
Oh, that wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, but they would never cast her because she's not a big name.
I mean, as long as it's not Tara Strong.
Well, God. Yeah, no. No, Kristen Shaw would be like my perfect pick, but like a celebrity pick.
Who did Peach's voice in the movie?
That was Anya Taylor-Joy.
Okay, yeah.
But she has a very non-distinct, like Peach. Princess Peach could have been
anybody
played by anybody.
That's true.
God.
Mario, I baked you a cake.
Yeah, basically.
Hell, it could be me. I could be Amy Rose.
Yeah.
Sonic,
Yeah. Oh, you know what? People call in and leave your voice message. 412-345-1413. That's our hotline number. Call in and tell us, who do you think would be a good actor for Amy Rose? Amy Rose is a small pink hedgehog like Sonic, wears a red dress and has a giant like clown hammer that she hits people with because she can't go fast. And her whole thing is, I'm perky and peppy, and I am obsessed with Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yep.
What actress do you think can work for that? All right, so one of the things I've been doing, I've been going back through and watching classic movies.
Yeah, of course.
A lot. And I sat down and rewatched The Fifth Element the other day.
I love that movie.
It's a very good movie. First time I saw it, loved it. Thought it was the perfect film. Going back with like the mind of someone who reviews and analyzes these things, I could see where there are some flaws
Oh yeah,
with
I
the
mean,
film.
there are a lot of flaws, but also it's just such a fun movie.
It's incredibly fun. It's incredibly
not serious.
no.
Like it tries to be at times, but it's really not.
Well, that's why it didn't do very well in the box office, because people saw it and thought it was going to be a serious
action sci-fi film.
action film, and it's almost an action comedy.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
there is-
100%.
But no, the thing that I was thinking about, but like all of the act cast, everyone's great.
Yeah.
Everyone's awesome. It was cast perfectly. But the thing that I kind of went back and I was thinking about, so Luc Besson, the writer-director,
Yes.
producer, allegedly had been writing and rewriting the script for Fifth Element since he was 16 years old. like in high school.
You know what? It does feel like it does feel like a teenager's like
It does.
original story.
And when you're watching it, you can kind of tell where his influences, like as a teenager, would have been. Like, so Luc Besson is French,
Yes.
but he's loves film. He like most directors do. You could see Star Wars in there. You could see Raiders of the Lost Ark in there.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You could see Barbarella, big time,
Yeah.
in that film, and it made me kind of think, okay. Everything kind of jumps from one thing to the other, boom, 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 without much space in between. But, if you're a teenager writing an epic story, you would think that it would have been longer, right?
It is kind of a short movie.
It is kind of a short movie, and there's never been a sequel, thank goodness. However, watching it now, feels like it was a very truncated version of a grand epic that he might have written. Like, it's kind of weird that all 4 of the stones were found in one place, and that's it.
Yeah, they didn't do this like globe-trotting search for it.
Exactly. And there's only you're set in space. There's only 3 alien races you see in the film. The Diva.
Yeah,
the
Pablo
Mangalores.
Laguna. Yeah.
The Mangalores.
Yep.
And the Montechuans.
Yes.
Those are the only ones you see. But it's set in space.
The far future.
The far future. Space has been colonized.
Well, I guess
it's all out and about.
technically there's 4, because then there's like, what did they call him? Like Mr. Dark or whatever.
Well, that's the
evil
giant
presence.
Speaking fireball of evil in space. That's true, but it almost
That also
feels,
could be just not even an alien. It could just be some kind of weird space deity.
right, exactly. But the point I'm getting to is it feels like maybe in the original script or the original story, the Lost in Paradise, the cruise ship story, he got one of the stones instead of all 4.
Yes.
And there were 3 other sections around space with different settings and different story beats that been a much bigger
She did have
thing.
all 4 of the stones in her stomach, didn't she?
She did, and it's interesting that it's on a cruise ship in space, but a cruise ship, my theory is they would have gotten the water stone
Yeah.
from her because it's vaguely
Also, the
cruise ship water kind of thing.
the planet that the cruise ship goes to, the planet of Floston,
Yeah.
looked like a completely aquatic world.
Yes, it did. So that was always my kind of theory now, is that somewhere out there's an original draft where it's a multi-film situation where they're going from one location to the other and finding them one after the other. Because my other thing is Lilu, she's reading basically future Wikipedia.
Yeah, she
Going
learns
through.
like all of human history in the matter of like it seems like 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. That would be like almost a through line in this imagined version I'm thinking in my head, where she learns A through F in the first chapter,
Yeah.
which would be this, and then there's other chapters as it goes along. It also felt like some of the recurring like gags that they do felt like they would have been better if there were more of them. Again, could have been that they're like the general who keeps having injury placed upon him. He was frozen but came back. He was cracked in the head by Lilu and came back. He like had stuff happen to him.
Yeah.
And that feels like there was more of that in there.
Yeah, and there's also like there's all this other backstory. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't need everything explained to me.
I don't either.
I like the fact that the movie feels like a living world. Like
It's already set up.
It
yeah.
doesn't. It doesn't like Yeah, they drop little lore hints here and there. Like Corbin Dallas used to be ex-military and he used to be very good.
And they don't have to go into that because Star Wars Episode 4. There's a whole
when it was just called
backstory.
Star Wars.
Back when it was just called Star Wars, there's a whole backstory to that at the time didn't need to get into.
Yeah, they didn't talk about it. Or, I mean, it's mentioned as a throwaway line.
As a throwaway line, yes. But it's just very interesting to think of what it could have been in today's film landscape, where studios want sequels, want built-in part 2s, part 3s.
Yeah.
That. If it were produced today, I would say it would be a 2-parter or maybe even a 3-parter at least.
As long as they didn't do like in 4 parts to find each stupid stone.
I mean, if there was enough in there.
I mean, yeah, but I can't. They would have to add a lot. Like, okay, like going back to the thing where you talked about like, there's only like 4 alien races.
Right.
And then you got Luc Besson's other movie based on a comic book.
Valerian.
Yes, Valerian, City of a Thousand Worlds.
Yes.
Where there's a million different aliens all over the place.
Yeah. Well, the difference is
Fifth Element was a good movie.
Well, 1, yeah. And 2, he wrote Fifth Element. He only directed and adapted Valerian.
Yeah, that's true. Valerian did come from an existing source.
Right. So, yeah, and it made me think one step further. Not everything needs to be remade.
No.
Never.
And I hope no one touches it.
And I hope no one touches it.
Especially with Bruce Willis not being able to act anymore,
Sure.
and he can't speak and a lot of other stuff. And
however, if Netflix or Apple Plus, because Apple Plus did a fantastic job with Murderbot, based off the Murderbot Mysteries books.
I put that on my watch list. I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, I've watched the first episode. Fantastic.
Okay,
and it fits the vibe, the comedy and action and future vibe of that quite well.
Was Alan Tudyk the robot?
No, that's Alexander Skarsgård.
Right. It's Viking. It's Vampire Viking.
That's it. Yes.
Okay.
But if, say, Apple Plus were to go, okay, well, we're going to make a 12-episode miniseries of the entire epic. Recast people. You
obviously,
have to.
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with the original film. So the original film stands alone as its own. If you have no interest in watching the show, you wouldn't watch the show. What have you?
You mean kind of like with Stargate and Stargate SG-1?
Yes, absolutely.
Where they're just loosely connected.
They're very loosely connected.
Like they mention Raw, and that's it.
This would have nothing. This would have no connection.
Okay.
It's its own separate thing. I think that would be interesting to see if they were to take the entire script and cut it up into 12 parts or 4 parts or 8 parts, whatever, and try that. And for that matter, bring in more alien races, bring in more, you wouldn't need like backstory, like where the movie starts. That's where it is. You don't have to go into like the past of it, but
I will
flesh things out more.
I will say this though. Part of the charm of the Fifth Element is, there's a little bit of CGI,
but there's almost not. It's all practical.
Yeah, it's all practical effects, and it makes it look so good.
Sure. And they would do it CG, and
it'd be terrible.
It would not be.
It would look like dirt.
I don't know if I'd say terrible because, again, Murderbot. They're putting money into it, and there's plenty of CG in that, and it looks fine. It's passable. Okay. It's good, but in that case, put more alien races, put more, make the universe feel more lived in. Because we barely see the universe. We just see Earth, which is cool.
And not just Earth. We just see New York.
Yes.
And then his mom calling from the moon.
From the moon. Right. So like say they have to go to the moon for one of the rocks. And we have to deal with
Corbin's mom
the entire time complaining about stuff and not quite understanding what's going on. That's also, Ruby Rod feels like he was a tagger on for a chapter and then would eventually go off to do their own thing. Almost like a Doctor Who, not
like a guest companion,
but a guest companion that's in like Rory. He's in like a handful of episodes as a companion, and then kind of goes back and does his own thing.
Yeah, but then he I don't know.
Rory's a bad example, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Like Ruby Rod feels out of place at the end of the film when they're in the Egyptian
temple, yeah.
Egyptian temple. He feels out of place.
It also feels like he was just there to be the stupid comedy relief character.
But if through the chapter that it would have been, the Waterstone Floston Paradise chapter,
yeah,
perfect fit for that chapter. And then once that goes, he goes off and does his radio show and just becomes a background character again.
I kind of
and
wish
there's someone else who becomes like the fourth hanger on.
Like they build up so much with him, like he's so famous and this and that.
Yeah.
But until that part, you don't know anything about him. I think you might have heard his voice on the radio, like maybe like at the very beginning, like just a little bit.
So he is promoting the giveaway, that eventually is
the government rigged
ends up
to
rigging.
Get Corbin
but
on
there's
the thing.
There's a commercial at the very beginning when Corbin, like I said, I just watched this. When Corbin is getting ready to leave to go do his taxi job right at the very beginning, he tells his cat, "Hey, don't watch too much of this; it'll rot your brain." And it's a commercial for the Floston Paradise thing being read off by Ruby Rod.
Yeah.
Because you hear his loud, screechy voice.
Are you green?
Are you green? Super green. Yeah. But
oh my god, that is just reminded me of one of my favorite jokes in the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
When they're in that standoff on the ship, it's like we're sending in someone to negotiate, and he just walks in and just headshots him,
pops the leader. Yeah,
and he's like, "Who else wants to negotiate?"
Yeah. One of my favorite things in the film is the villain Zorg and Corbin never meet face to face.
No, they don't. They're like ships passing in the night.
And that also feels like it would have been a throughway through the entire story if it were longer.
Could you imagine if that was just a running gag through the whole thing?
That they never run into each other in this entire epic. It would be like if Saruman were actually out trying to find the ring and he keeps almost like just narrowly missing Frodo and
in the party.
Party, yeah. Like they're just barely missing each other.
Kind of like the ring race when they just kind of skip them over in the woods.
Basically like that. But I don't know.
I like that gag actually. I really like. That's a really good idea.
Too.
That's a really solid joke.
Yeah, but no, it just kind of raised a bunch of questions because I already know the movie's great.
Oh yeah.
I already know it's a classic.
It's a classic.
Yeah, it's
that
almost,
PS1 game was terrible. Though.
Well, sure, yeah.
Most movie tie-in games.
Well, they mostly are, especially for that time. I would say Fifth Element is like the platonic ideal of cult classic.
Oh yeah,
because it's a movie that
bombed commercially,
bombed critically, but there's a strong contingent of people who go back and absolutely love the film.
Yeah. I remember a time in the early 2000s, like you'd see Lilu cosplayers all over the internet.
You still do.
Well, I don't, but
at cons, you do see a Lilu every now and again. Usually someone who already has, bright orange hair, orange pink or orange red hair,
wearing a white tank top and those rubber suspenders.
And the rubber suspenders, yeah. But yeah, and that goes to show. I mean, I've even seen a couple of Ruby Rods at cons. Now, this was about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but yeah. And those costumes are, one was very bad and one was very, very well done.
That stupid pompadour.
The pompadour. The guy even had the microphone staff that he had in that one scene, which is great. But yeah, I just kind of made me kind of think, all right, what could you do? Not saying it should be redone or anything like that. It shouldn't be touched. But if you were going to, how would you do it and make it familiar but not a carbon copy and not retroactively ruin the
original film,
that sort of thing? Well, the other thing that I did, and this is going to not be nearly as long of a conversation, because
I could talk about Fifth Element all
I
day.
could too. We could do an entire show out of it, honestly.
We could call it Meat Popsicle.
Yeah, that's it. But no, the other thing, because I felt like I'd been watching too many good films, I rewatched a film that I watched about 10 years ago called The Thing with Two Heads.
Oh, I think I've heard you talk about this one before.
Yes, it is. It is extremely low budget Z-grade action sci-fi horror film about Now, this was made in the 70s. Keep that in mind, made in the 70s. It was about a racist old man who's been funding the transplanting of the head of one being onto another body because he is dying of cancer. And so he decides, they did it with a monkey and it worked, or a chimpanzee or what have you. He starts dying for real and goes, okay, find a body, put me on it. And the temporary body they had to attach him to keep the head alive was former professional football player Rosie Greer, who is a large black man. And can you imagine the hijinks they get into? Yes.
I feel like that story beat has been told a couple of times in media that I've experienced.
Yeah.
Futurama does an episode where Fry's head is sewn onto Amy's body.
Yeah,
when
and
they're dating.
and
then they break up after the accident.
Yeah. Was Fry able to control one of the arms?
Yes.
Then that is taken directly from the thing with two heads, because that was the whole thing.
And then there's
the guy, the white guy could control one of Rosie Greer's arms.
And then there was the Venture Brothers character, Red Dragoon and Red Man.
That they put together.
Yeah. It was Red Dragoon and or just Dragoon and Red Mantle.
That's it. Yeah. Okay.
They're like two of the oldest members
right.
of the council, because when they had to give up like villainy for good to be on the council, they got a letter, or they had to, their dream matchup or whatever, and they're just like, congratulations, you outlived all your nemesis. And they're like, yes, we don't have to do anything.
But no, this the point being with this film, it's terrible. It's awful, but it's kind of stupid fun. You could tell that a lot of it was like long shots. At one point, so this movie was conceived like a lot of old-time films. They made the poster first because the poster is interesting, and then wrote a film around the poster. And the poster was a giant black guy with a old elderly white guy's head riding a motorcycle. Or a dirt bike or something.
Yeah,
so they wrote the film around that image. And it is so obvious in not even long shots, but even medium shots. It's just a paper mache head that they have on Rosie Greer's neck. And then when they do close-ups,
he's like just resting his chin on his shoulder.
He's resting his chin on the guy's shoulder, or when they're laying in bed, there's clearly a hole in the mattress and the pillow where they have it shoved up, so you can get a further away shot, but it's clearly the guy's just shoving his head up through a hole in the bottom of the bed. It looks horrible. There was one gag where the old guy smokes a cigarette, and then the smoke comes out of
Greer's
mouth. Yeah, it's stupid. I don't know if I would recommend it to anyone who actually likes films, but if you're like me and you love trash, it's pretty good trash. Let's go ahead and change gears and get into some of our news. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is, it feels like something that would be a slam dunk for me to talk about, because I love fighting games. I love how stupid the storylines of fighting games can be. I don't care at all about modern Mortal Kombat games, but their story modes are stupid. They're like stupid movies. They're like bad, cheesy movies. But Street Fighter is getting a live action, another shot at a live action film. This will be
time's the charm,
third
right?
time's, well, maybe.
That is a big maybe.
Now, it is going to be put out through Legendary, which is a great...
Yeah,
they're great for like
I love
high B, low A rating movies.
I love the MonsterVerse movies.
The MonsterVerse movies. They did the Power Rangers, which
I hate that movie.
You know what? I went back and watched it recently, and yeah, it's not Power Rangers. It's barely Power Rangers. However, it does tell a pretty good story, and if you were going to barely take any of the source material outside of 5 teens with attitude get giant robots and fights a villain, it fits that mold. It actually fits that mold pretty well. It's, as completely divorced of everything else, it's a B+ movie. No, but they're the ones that are also putting out the new Toxic Avenger. Legendary.
They are?
So they're the production company behind it, the studio behind it. But
for some reason I thought it was Troma.
No, God, no. It wouldn't look... I love Uncle Lloydie. I love Lloyd Kaufman. Go back about 5 years in the show's run.
We did the interview.
I did I talked to that man for 40 minutes about all sorts of stuff. Lloyd Kaufman is Lloyd Kaufman is Mel Brooks if he had no shame. Because they're both, they both have that, we're the performers, look, check out this film, do this thing, do this stuff. But Mel Brooks is a good filmmaker, and Lloyd Kaufman is kind of like the charlatan snake oil salesman version.
So he is the guy from The Producers.
Yeah, basically. But Troma is part of like the development team, but they're not producing it because Lloyd wouldn't have the money for it.
Yeah, especially to get like Peter Dinklage and stuff.
Well, if you look at the last couple movies like Poultrygeist and Return to Nukem High, and they weren't good. They're not even the bad kind of good.
Like Sergeant Kabuki Man.
Sergeant Kabuki Man. It was their attempt at making a slightly family-friendly. From what I've read, the whole point was they wanted to make a live-action movie to then turn it into a Toxic Crusaders-style cartoon show. That was the whole point of it. They needed to have a pre-established character in order to...
But there's boobies in the movie.
Well, there's boobies in Toxic Avenger, the original.
That's true.
They're all over the place.
That's true.
And it's also incredibly violent. But
That's
they made the Toxic
true.
Crusaders, which was, family-friendly Toxie with his talking mop. Anyway, point being, they're making a Street Fighter movie, and they've been slowly trickling out casting decisions for
a lot of these feel like jokes.
It's interesting. They started out pretty okay. I would say that the when they announced people for
Chung-Li seemed like
looks about right.
A very safe choice.
It looked pretty good. Ryu looked Ryu. Although if you watch the old Jean-Claude Van Damme or radio friendly Jean-Claude gosh darn. Yes. Thank you. I'll be here all week. They called him Ryu, but it's Ryu. Anyway, they've started casting
like Ong?
Like Ong and Aang, Sokka and Sokka.
God, the less we talk about that movie, the better.
Oh man, yeah. That's going to have to go on the list of bad movies I'm going to have to go back and rewatch at some point, unfortunately.
Or Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, no, that's bad. Anyway, they've started casting some of the villains in it. And at first they said, okay, Balrog, or Boxer, I guess technically, because this is getting into the weeds. In Japan, the three out of the four Heavenly Kings of Evil, the bad guy, Shadaloo, the bad guy team, their names were switched around to avoid a lawsuit from Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I think I'd heard something about that.
Yeah, because in Japan, the boxer's name is Mike Bison, which sounds very close to Mike Tyson.
Yes.
And
which would have been on purpose.
And Dictator was Vega, and Claus was Balrog. They switched them all around one turn. And it doesn't sound right to us because we know M. Bison as Major Bison, the villain, and Balrog, the boxer, and
Vega, the guy with claws.
The guy with claws. But that was originally how it is, and that's why when you're fighting in the FGC and you're talking about characters, you don't talk about M. Bison, you talk about Dictator. You don't talk about Balrog, you talk about Boxer. Because, if you're talking with someone from another country about it, it's just easier to describe what they are instead of their name.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But they first said 50 Cent as the boxer, what we would know as Balrog.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You know what? 50 Cent has done acting before, and he hasn't been terrible. You don't need to be a real deep actor to play Balrog. You basically have to go, I'm evil because I was kicked out of the boxing ring, and I just want my fight money. I'm stupid and I'm going to punch things. That's what you need.
I want to punch things.
Yeah, I'm going to wreck it, but in an evil way. So you don't need a great actor for that. But 50 Cent, he's done stuff. He had that game Blood in the Sand.
No, it was Bulletproof.
No, there is 50 Cent Blood in the Sand. Because there was a old comics review website that whenever they were promoting like action figures or statues or maquettes, one guy who did the articles always used a Xbox copy of 50 Cent Blood in the Sand for size reference, and then they would take a picture of like the statue or whatever with a copy of 50 Cent's Blood in the Sand like sitting next to it.
I think I prefer the banana measurement standard now.
Oh sure, yep. Yep. But so they cast him, and that's fine. And then they cast M. Bison as he's a great actor, but I will mispronounce his name.
David Dashmechelin?
I think it's Dalmakian.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right.
And so he was Polka Dot Man in the Suicide Squad. He has a part on the Murderbot show for Apple TV.
You know,
he's been in a bunch of stuff.
This picture I'm looking at of him,
yeah.
He looks kind of like the dude who played in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and he was also in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show.
Are you talking about
Zemo?
Zemo. That's not him, but he does look like
he does look like him
in
though.
in the Dark Knight, the Christian Bale Batman movies. At one point, there is a mental patient that the Joker breaks out and has him disguise him as a cop. And he has like a bomb strapped to him or something.
Oh, right.
That is him when he was a bit player.
Okay.
Interesting choice. He is a great actor, and I guess if you close one eye and squint the other, and they put a lot of stuff like makeup and stuff on him, he kind of sort of looks like Raul Julia. A little bit in the nose and eyes. I can see it.
Yeah.
Again, if you squint with one eye, completely close the other.
So
Okay.
just squint my left eye then.
Weird choice, but okay. And this last one is what really made me think, this is a joke. This is bad. They're making a purposely bad film. They have cast professional wrestler Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, as the all-American boy Guile. And listen, I'm sure he could do the stunts. And he already has blonde hair, although he needs to grow it out into a flat top.
Oh, it's even more than a flat top.
Well, to make it somewhat realistic, they could do like a little bit of a flat top that kind of flares a little bit, but
Jean-Claude Van Damme looked nothing like Guile.
Oh no, but you can't do a live action movie and have Guile have the push broom hair. You can't do it.
I still want to see him try.
It would be nice. It would be cool, but yeah. But that casting tells me they're not making it. It's not going to be good. And it's going to follow the grand tradition of Street Fighter media outside of the games. That's pretty terrible, unfortunately.
I don't know. I really like that one live action Street Fighter 2 movie, or not live action. That anime Street Fighter 2 movie.
Oh, that one's fine. It's good. It's interesting to look at it and kind of go, okay, this is kind of parallel or different, take on the Street Fighter story. But it's just not. I'm concerned about it. This is the same one that has Jason Momoa playing Blanca.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
The green jungle man, monster jungle man, and professional wrestler Roman Reigns as Akuma, which is a mistake, not because of Roman Reigns, but because Akuma is too difficult to explain in a movie where you're also trying to set up all the other characters.
True. He is like, I don't know. It's definitely like you've got, Shao Kahn in a movie, but you're also going to throw in
Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung.
And Shao Kahn.
Yeah, you have Shang Tsung, soul-sucking sorcerer man as your big bad. But then, oh, wait, there's a bigger bad behind the curtain.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but Akuma doesn't interact with Shadaloo. It's just like, here's the good guys, here's the bad guys, and then
here's Akuma.
And then there's this almost godlike
demonic
fighter
being
that just wants to kill everybody. And that's hard to fit into even a 2.5 hour film and have it make sense.
Yeah, and then connect him to Ryu and all that stuff.
And all that other stuff. Yeah, it's going to be, my prediction, it's going to be bad. Now, I would love to be pleasantly surprised. And I will go see this in the theater because I am that kind of shill.
And I'll go with you.
Yeah, totally. But but it's gonna be bad. It's like that time we went to see the Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, that
we
was a
walked
bad
in
night.
knowing that was going to be bad, but we watched it anyway.
And it was worse than we thought it was going to be.
Worse than we thought it would be. Although
at least the second one was better.
Well, it almost have to be.
Right.
That one also co-starred a professional wrestler. Sheamus was Rocksteady.
Was it? Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, because you see him for a few minutes as a human, and then he gets turned into the Rhino Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about this film. Again, I'll go see it, and I'll have an official opinion when I see
What
it.
What if they're saying they're casting Akuma to bring hype, but he's just like the after credit?
That's the other thing. I'm curious. Well, you're not going to get Roman Reigns in there and have him not have scenes. Plus, if he's supposed to be a post-credit surprise, you wouldn't say he's cast and have him just show up as the surprise. You wouldn't do that. But maybe Legendary is putting out all these actors being cast as things as a red herring, and they've actually gotten martial artists and better
Actual
fits.
actors.
I don't want to say actual actors because there are some they are actors, but better choices for the roles that they're just not saying, and it's going to be a big bait and switch kind of situation. I don't know.
I feel like that's giving them too much credit.
It is. No, it is. It absolutely is. But it would be interesting if they did it. That would be something.
That's true.
Yeah. Next thing we're going to be getting into, Josh, tell me about Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm. Terrible name, first off.
Oh yeah. Or sorry, Very Young.
Very young. Also bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
So hot off the heels of announcing of Spaceballs 2,
mm-hmm.
The Search for More Money.
I hope that's the
full title.
The full title.
I know.
Really hope so.
Right.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks also announced they are working on a series on FX called Very Young Frankenstein.
Okay.
Why? I don't know.
And it is tied into the Young Frankenstein movie with Gene Wilder and Madeline Kahn and Terry Garr.
And it's
Marty
and it's
Feldman. The closest thing to a perfect film.
Yeah.
For me. It's in the top 5 situation for me.
Plus, there's all the cool behind-the-scenes stuff, like using all the old original Frankenstein movie props.
Yes. A lot of that. Well, a lot of it was the Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein set.
Yes.
But there were some things from the original as well.
I mean, one good thing about it is the team that works on
What We Do in the Shadows.
What They Do to the Shadows is doing it.
Yeah, so Taika Waititi and
gang
and his merry band of misfits. I don't like it.
I really don't either, because like we've talked about this before, like off mic and stuff, where Spaceballs can work with a sequel because there's been more Star Wars to make fun of.
Yes.
Plus, Spaceballs and Robin Hood Men in Tights are very tongue-in-cheek, look at the camera and wink.
Break the fourth wall constantly. And you can get around making sequels with things like that.
Yeah,
because
it's funny.
Yeah.
But Young Frankenstein is such probably one of Mel Brooks's more, I don't know. Like, yes, it's definitely a comedy, but it is way more cinematic.
It's less wink and nod.
Yeah, it's definitely less wink and nod.
And a lot of that
the jokes are in, like, the delivery, not so much the
hey, look
gag.
at this guy. Yeah, look at
not so much
this,
the gag.
Yes, and a lot of that came down to being co-written. It was actually mainly written by Gene Wilder. It was Gene Wilder's film that Mel Brooks directed. And yeah, that movie was such lightning in a bottle. You'd be hard pressed to recreate it if they were going to try to remake that movie scene for scene, shot for shot. Wouldn't work. And if they try to do like, oh, this is Frederick von Frankenstein's modern day great grandson who is now going to be making his own monster, but it's not going to work. It's not going to be good. You can't. Like I said, it was lightning in a bottle. It was a perfect storm of great actors, great script, great writing, great director. And listen, What We Do in the Shadows is very funny. It's very funny. I don't think that energy is correct. I don't think they would match the tone and the energy of Young Frankenstein. I don't think it would work.
No. Especially if they didn't do it in black and white, it would be stupid.
Yeah, so my thoughts is it's probably going to be in color. It's probably going to be set in modern day. They'll make references. I mean, Cloris Leachman is the only actor that is still around from that film.
Yeah.
Everyone else has passed. So they could trot her out as...
Man, I miss Peter Boyle.
I do too. Yeah, I miss all of them.
Oh, that's true.
I really do.
True. Gene Wilder and Peter Boyle are like huge parts of our young lives.
Mm-hmm. Marty Feldman knocked the role out of the park, and Terry Garr was great as well. They were all great. And Kenneth Mars.
Yeah.
From, yeah. But they can't replicate it, and doing it in a different style would not feel... It wouldn't feel
genuine.
Right. It wouldn't feel genuine. It wouldn't feel right. Again, like the Street Fighter thing, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I will watch the first episode.
Oh yeah, I'll consume just about anything Mel Brooks has done.
And the thing is, Mel Brooks isn't writing it. It is he is basically given his okay,
his consent.
It's not being made by Brooks Films. It's not, unlike Spaceballs 2, which is being done through Brooks Film, and it's being directed and being co-written by Mel Brooks. This is him basically saying, I get final say, do what you want. It's not going to be good. It's not going to work. They should, if they were going to do something, if they were going to do a Frankenstein version of What We Do in the Shadows, which is what this is going to turn into. It's going to be a Frankenstein version of What We Do in the Shadows.
Which should be its own separate thing.
Its own separate thing that doesn't have to rely on referencing back to one of the greatest comedy movies of all time. Anytime you reference back to it, you're going to be in your mind, in the viewer's mind, you're going to be comparing it to an unbelievable standard. And it's always going to come up short, no matter how funny the show will be.
They're probably just going to retread all the good jokes, and they're going to ruin it.
Oh yeah, they'll probably try to do a putting on the Ritz-esque scene. They're probably going to do Frankenstein, or they'll have him Frankenstone. They'll make him say it. It's going to be not Frankenstein, but it'll be slightly different. Than
they'll probably have the moving hump.
They'll have the moving. Yes, it's going to be a whole. It's going to be a whole thing.
It's going to be a movie of the I clapped when I saw it, but it's going to be bad.
And Young Frankenstein doesn't deserve that treatment.
No,
it doesn't.
It's one of my favorite Mel Brooks movies.
It is maybe my favorite. I mean, it's very close with Spaceballs and Blazing Saddles. I think they're all right up there.
I really love Men in Tights.
I don't
know what it is about Men in Tights that I love so much. I don't know if it's because it's the one I saw the most.
You know what? It's Men in Tights is the one that I like. Aside from Young Frankenstein, which has been a family tradition my entire life.
Yeah,
I've seen Young Frankenstein on almost every format. Every format. I've seen it in theaters. I've seen it as not
obviously,
but yeah. I was negative 10 years old at that point, but I saw it re-released in theaters. It was like a Fathom Events thing. I've seen it, DVD, streaming, VHS, and Selectavision. The proto laser disc. I own a copy of that. That's the first place I watched Young Frankenstein was on a Selectavision. Yeah. I don't know. Outside of that film, I think Men in Tights was the Mel Brooks movie I've seen the most, probably because it was one of the few films that was played on repeat on Comedy Central.
Oh yeah, it was played all the time on TV when I was younger.
Constant, yeah.
There are some Mel Brooks movies I've never seen.
Dracula Dead and Loving It.
I love that movie.
You do?
I like that movie.
I hated that movie. It seemed like a slam dunk parody film with Leslie Nielsen and Mel Brooks, but it just,
to be fair,
didn't work.
I have not watched it since I was a kid.
Okay, there's your answer.
And I only watched it on TV.
There's your answer.
I've never seen just the raw un-TV'd version of the movie.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, one that gets looked over a lot, it's High Anxiety. It is...
Never seen it.
It is a slight parody on Psycho and psychological thrillers. Yeah.
Did he do one...
And it was starring Mel Brooks as well, so it was like his film.
Yeah. Did he... Was there one that was called it was like something with a chair or something?
12 Chairs, I think?
Maybe, yeah, 12 Chairs.
Yeah, I have not watched that one. I will say I haven't watched that one, and I've only seen History of the World Part 1 once.
I've only seen History of the World Part 1 on Comedy Central.
Mm-hmm. So probably a lot of it was chopped out.
Yeah, and I've never seen the original producers. I have only seen the remake.
The original producers is fantastic.
I've only seen the remake with Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick.
Now, the remake was fine. I mean,
liked
it was
a
turned
lot.
into a full-blown musical along with, but
I liked it a lot.
the original producers it's pretty great. Zero Mostel and Gene Wilder are great in that. It's actually Gene Wilder's first starring role in a film. He was primarily theater actor prior to. But Kenneth Mars, the guy who played Inspector Kemp with the wooden arm, is the crazy Nazi who wrote the
Will Ferrell.
He's the Will Ferrell part, and he does a fantastic job with that as well. So it's definitely worth watching.
And now I've got
Springtime
for Hitler in my head now.
Yeah. But there were a string of about 4 or 5 of Mel Brooks's films that were absolutely fantastic. I do think he kind of fell off a little bit with Dracula Dead and Loving It, but
that was also one of his more, I mean, other than the remake of The Producers, I feel like that was one of his more quote unquote recent ones.
Because that
like
was
outside of his golden era.
Mid to late 90s, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And it falls into the trap of Leslie Nielsen is fantastic. He does deadpan and that kind of, slapstick kind of stuff extremely well. But I feel, and this is probably controversial, but I feel it was the Zucker brothers and Zucker and Abrams were the only ones that could get a really good that kind of performance out of Leslie Nielsen, because he's post the Naked Gun films and Airplane and all that they used Leslie Nielsen. It was funny. It wasn't quite right. Look at Superhero Movie, where he was the Uncle Ben character for the Dragonfly.
Oh, right. He was also the Godfather in the Mafia movie.
In Mafia, yeah. Movies where Leslie Nielsen is mugging at the camera is not good. Where he's like looking into the camera and going, boo.
Oh, like in Scary Movie when he was the president.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a misuse of an
Leslie
excellent
Nielsen.
Comedic actor. And just an excellent actor overall.
I feel like they just threw him in there because he was so iconic in the parody movie verse.
Yes. It's almost like, okay, we're making a parody movie. Well, we have to reference all the good ones. Because if we reference the good ones, maybe our bad one will seem less bad. But Dracula Dead and Loving It feels kind of like that, where they didn't quite know how to work Mel Brooks' style into Leslie Nielsen's particular acting style.
Yeah.
It just didn't quite mesh.
I will say that opening scene where he's like rising out of the coffin like Bela Lugosi and like bangs his head on the chandelier.
That is pretty funny.
That bit gets me. That bit gets me.
That's kind of funny. Yeah, but it's all this to say, don't remake or tag on a sequel to Young Frankenstein. It's never going to match the original, and that means no matter how good it is, it's never going to be perfect, and it's never going to match what the highest point. It's only going to be a number 2.
Yeah, but also I feel like it's almost impossible to match like that Gene Wilder crazy energy.
Absolutely. I don't think there's an actor out there that can go from 0 to 60 the way Gene Wilder did in that
look
film.
at Willy Wonka.
Oh yeah.
That movie is bonkers and I love it.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. I will say the Timothy Chalamet Wonka movie is good for what it is if you divorce it completely from the Gene Wilder one. Wonka doesn't need an origin story, but if you had to do an origin story, it was okay.
At least it wasn't Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, with Johnny Depp as Michael Jackson, Willy Wonka.
Don't touch the squirrel's nuts.
Oh,
that movie sucked. And I thought that movie sucked on day one.
Well,
I saw that in theater, and I was like, "This was crap."
A lot of it was Johnny Depp. A lot of it is Tim Burton. Unfortunately, I think in his as he's aged, his style has gotten a little bit. He's been missing the mark more than hitting the mark.
I mean, yeah.
Corpse Bride was maybe his last good film, I feel.
Yeah.
And Corpse Bride wasn't even. It was fine, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was no Nightmare Before Christmas, but
no.
Tim Burton also only produced that movie.
The Alice in Wonderland films were, awful films.
I used to really love Johnny Depp when he actually had range.
Yeah.
And then when after don't get me wrong, I love Pirates of the Caribbean. The first one is an amazing movie.
First one.
Love that movie.
Yes.
Love that movie. Did not need, 5 sequels or whatever?
5 sequels. 3 of them, including the original cast, and then 2 that have nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
That might as well have just been a different pirate story that they tacked Jock Sparrow.
Into.
Jock Sparrow.
Jacques Sparrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I agree. And yeah, there was a time where he was a great actor, but when...
Oh, yeah. We had like The Ninth Gate. We had Secret Window. The Astronaut's Wife.
Yeah.
Those are all good. Or Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
They're all good films.
Those good movies where Johnny Depp is playing distinctly different characters.
But when Jack Sparrow and the booze became the character.
Yes.
But I digress. Tim Burton films lately have not been very good. And he's talking about doing another animated film. Might be stop motion.
Yeah.
Might be just animated. And I guess Coraline was good. I guess that
He
was
didn't do Coraline.
Yeah, he did.
No, he didn't. That's Leica.
Oh, right. That's Leica and Neil Gaiman talking about problematic people that used to be awesome.
Yeah.
That's right. But I don't know if it's going to have the same bite as his early stuff. Remember when he remade
his student film Frankenweenie?
Well, yeah, they had Frankenweenie, but I'm thinking of it was the Dark Shadows.
Oh, that movie sucks.
Yeah, that was him.
Because I loved the old soap opera.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty.
Yeah.
It was
By the
pretty
way,
hokey.
folks, if you didn't remember, Dark Shadows was a soap opera.
And for the first 50 episodes, it was
First 500.
Oh, it was 500.
Barnabas Collins does not show up until like episode 500 and something.
Yeah.
Before that, they had Wolfmen and Phoenixes and all kinds of dumb stuff that didn't make sense. Mm-hmm. And then and then the show was getting ready to be canceled, and then they cast Barnabas Collins, the vampire.
Yeah.
And the show got saved.
Yeah. So
And the fact that
that movie was terrible.
They pulled the old cast in for a kind
like
of
a scene.
a scene.
Yeah.
Where you have the original Barnabas Collins character or actor in a wheelchair, like getting pushed into this ballroom or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, he shakes his hands like, "Nice to meet you. It's an honor." Blah blah blah. In character and stuff. And it's, God, that I almost walked out of that movie. Like I went to the theater to watch that.
Same.
Because my first wife was a huge Dark Shadows fan.
Sure.
And we're like, "Oh yeah, Tim Burton and Dark Shadows, let's go." We were both horribly disappointed.
When I saw it, I had the inkling to leave the theater on that. There's only been a few movies. Like if I pay to see a movie, I'm going to sit through it. I've never walked out of a film, but between that, Dark Shadows and Hancock. Do you remember Hancock?
Oh yeah, with Will Smith, this homeless superhero.
Yeah.
But then they pull a bait and switch near the end of the movie where like, oh, well, they're not superheroes. They're actually just angels.
They're actually like weird angel things that have been around for a million years, and
they used to be together. It's stupid.
I almost walked out of that film.
That movie
was the closest I've ever gotten to walking out of
that
a
movie.
theater.
Had so much potential.
If they would have stuck with homeless superhero.
Yeah, like just getting his groove back or
Yes.
redemption arc or whatever.
Yes.
Because he's a jerk in the beginning of the movie.
And that was fun because it's Jason Bateman trying to, rehabilitate the image of this washed up superhero.
Yeah.
That's a good story. Adding all the extra crap
Terrible.
made it terrible.
Terrible movie.
Yeah. It's a perfect short film because the first 20 or 30 minutes of that movie is great.
Yeah, right.
And that's what makes the rest of it so much worse because when it starts to get bad, it gets bad.
Yeah, and
then you start thinking, "Oh, I wish I were in the first 20 minutes of this film again."
Yeah, right, for the first time.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, I think we've actually hit time, so we should probably go ahead and wrap up the show.
We did ramble a little bit.
We rambled a bit, but the rambly ones are the best ones.
They really are.
Feel.
You've that on a shirt.
We should. That's a good idea. No, you have been listening to Nerd Overload. Thank you very much for tuning in. You can find us each and every day over at nerdoverload.com.
You can follow us on social media. All of those are at links.nerdoverload.com.
You can email the show, staff at nerdoverload.com, and call the hotline. Again, that's 412-345-1413. Give us a call, and we will play your voicemail on the show.
Who should be Amy Rose?
Who should be Amy Rose in Sonic 4? Absolutely. You can find all of our back episodes anywhere you can catch podcasts. That's Apple Podcast, Amazon Music,
Spotify,
our
YouTube.
and our YouTube. Finally, I'd like to thank Parker for helping us out, finding some news articles for the show, and David Pencil for our intro and outro. So again, thank you all for tuning in, and we will be back next week.
Pizza out.